Hey guys, this is Wes with Fantasy Smack Talk. Week 2 in the fantasy football season already. Going to be talking about some pivot plays for the NFL Sunday FanDuel $1 million tournament. Before we do, just want to remind y'all to log on to FanDuel, register, deposit some money, and check out FanDuel.com/FST. Get in one of the 75-man tournaments we're doing all year. Compete against me and some other guys on staff. It'll pay out the same way any other tournament would on FanDuel, but the winner will also take home a cool shirt. So check that out, and again, we'll be doing those all year. If you check out the website, the column this week will kind of have a recap of last week, my picks, and then you'll be able to see the lineup of the guy who took home the million in the tournament last year. So week 1, my favorite quarterback pivot is Kirk Cousins. Cousins is only 7,700, but he's coming off a pretty disappointing week 1 showing. Obviously has the potential to go off every week when they're throwing the ball 40 or 45 times in Washington, and a few drops in that bad fumble call at the end of the game could have had his season opener go in a pretty different way. So I think people are going to be scared away by that. I think they're going to be scared away by his opponent, the Rams, but the Rams opened up with the Colts, who are about as bad as you can be in this league. So I don't think you should be scared away. I think a lot of people are going to be turning towards the chalk, which is Tom Brady on Aaron Rodgers, two best quarterbacks in the game and good matchups. Both priced are around 9,200, 91 for Rodgers. So those guys are great plays again. They both have over-unders around 53.5, which is tied for the highest in the league this week. But if you're trying to separate yourself, I think Cousins has a really high ceiling, and $1,400 cheaper than those guys. Can't really beat that. Running back, Zeke is my favorite pivot this week. EZEKIEL Elliott. I think that Dallas matchup with Denver is going to scare some people away. Denver is obviously an elite defense, but they're a lot better against the pass or as an overall unit than they are against the run. Last year they gave up 130 rushing yards a game. They're not going to win this game. Dallas isn't with Dak or with Dez. They're going to need Zeke, and him with that line makes him about as matchup proof as they come in this league. So I think you can roll him out there pretty confidently at 9,300. If he's 16, 17, 18% owned, and he's scoring 16, 17, 18 points, he's going to be in a lot of winning lineups this week. Chalk, I think, is going to be LaShawn McCoy, 8,600, and Kareem Hunt at 7,700. As long as McCoy is pretty much the premier bell cow back in this league, I think he's going to be the highest owned or one of the highest owned players on FanDuel every week, and he deserves to be, aside from a few of his toughest matchups of the year. And then Hunt, again, 7,800 on FanDuel. Got a lot of hype coming off of week 1, and deservedly so, but everybody notices that. So if you can throw out a lineup without him and hope he throws up a little dud, you'll have a leg up on everybody else. At receiver, I'm looking at Brandin Cooks as my top pivot. He didn't have a very exciting week 1 showing, but a lot of people expected him to be the guy coming into New England this year, losing probably Amendola this week, Edelman, and a few other guys in that receiving core. It's him and Gronk and a few others, Hogan, at 7,900. If you're looking at a couple scores from him, where in a week where Brady could easily put up 4 or 5 touchdowns against the Saints, and he shouldn't be more than 13, 14, or 15% owned, you're looking at a player who should be a huge difference maker for you in week 2. Chalk, I think, like last week, get into this a little bit on the column, but the chalk last week was pretty much right in line with the highest salary, the best players. So Antonio Brown at 9,100 and Julio Jones at 8,800. These guys were the highest owned players last week. That was the same at running back and quarterback as well. But again, matchup proof. These guys have good matchups again this week. If you can squeeze one in your lineup, you're probably pretty safe to do so. But rolling both of them out or just kind of banking on that isn't gonna get you finishing anywhere near the top of this tournament. So try to look elsewhere if you can. And then finally at tight end, we're looking at Jimmy Graham as my favorite pivot of week 2. He had a pretty disappointing showing again in the season opener. Seems to be a theme with a lot of these guys, but Graham is clearly the guy that Russell Wilson is looking towards in the end zone. There was a pretty abysmal pass interference call that was ignored, where 3 Packer defenders were basically pulling him down, and there was no flag. So Seattle will come home this week, have San Francisco Seattle's a better team at home, obviously. Everybody knows that. And San Francisco is not a good team anywhere. So Jimmy Graham, again, with the opportunity to be found in the red zone, he should find pay dirt at some point in this game if Seattle's scoring 2 or 3 touchdowns, and they definitely should in this matchup. So it's 6,300, and with ownership that I don't think is going to be overly high after last week, you're looking at a pretty nice value there. Finally, the chalk here at tight end. A couple guys who also didn't overwhelm anybody in week 1 in Gronk and Kelsey, 8,100 and 6,700 on FanDuel respectively, but these guys are studs. Everybody knows that. They both have great matchups, and I don't think anybody is going to shy away from them because of what they did in week 1. Kelsey, especially at that price tag, is still really affordable, and Gronk is just the kind of guy who has the ability to go off every week, and people are willing to pay up for him a lot. So if you can go in another direction than those guys, it should separate you nicely. And hopefully y'all can do better than I did last week. Took home $13 in a $7 buy-in, so you can't argue with that, but it's not going to get it done. So check out the column on the website again and sign up, FanDuel.com/FST. Join our league, compete against us, and hopefully take home some money and a shirt.